Do you know Nusrat Ghani?
I do, actually. We're the same age. We got in at the same time. And I think in those early days, we were on a few training courses together. I remember being on one you did, actually, Gloria, for new MPs. But anyway, yeah, we know the same part of West London. I think in the week she's in my seat in West London. And in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we were working together on something cross-party. So, yeah, she's a decent person. I do know her.
Have you been in touch with her since her remarks?
Do you know, I texted her yesterday and said, I bet your phone's off the hook, with people saying the same, but massive solidarity and thank you for speaking out. Because I think these kind of things are often buttoned up and, you know, bottled up and all this. So massive courage it must have taken, yeah.
Do you think Parliament is a welcoming place for Muslim MPs, in your experience?
I mean, look, I think Parliament, it's been there a long time. That original arch you walk through in Westminster Hall has been there since the year 1090. That's a jolly long time. So it can feel a bit of an unfriendly place to anyone who's a bit different. You know, I've heard Labour Northern MPs, was it Hazel Blears or someone saying that, you know, they can be a bit condescending to people whose face doesn't quite fit. Certainly, I found there are certain places in it. I mean, it's a weird building, you know it. But when you go there are whole staircases and lifts and corridors that are for MPs only, members only. I found myself straying into bits of that. The House of Commons terrace, for example, and being told by security, hey, where do you think you're going? And I like to think that was kind of when I was newer and people know who I am now. But, you know, my colleague Dawn Butler, I think she was once in a lift.
A black MP?
Yeah. Brent MP neighbouring with sort of braided hair, and a Tory male MP said to her, this lift isn't for cleaners, you know. So that kind of reaction can happen. I mean, again, this is quite a few years ago. I'd like to think it's lessening, and the way for it to lessen is to have more Muslim people, black people, northern people, whatever, that are a bit from outside the box of grey-haired man in grey suit.
What would you say to those of Muslim faith who have been reading the reports from Nusrat Ghani, who were thinking about entering politics and who think, oh, my goodness, maybe it's not for me? Can you reassure them that politics is?
And I'd say don't be deterred. You know, if you're, from all these things that I've said are slightly minority categories, you've probably had to fight that bit harder for everything in life. And it's never going to change. We want a parliament that reflects our society. So if it is same old, and it replicates and people get chosen at selection meetings because, oh, you remind me of me when I was your age, it's not good because it's never going to change. So I'd say, you know, do it. It should make them want to be even more determined to sort of smash those stereotypes.
Now, the Prime Minister has this morning ordered a Cabinet Office investigation into Nusrat Ghani's claims that she was fired from being a government minister partly because of her Muslimness. So the Prime Minister is acting on this. You must welcome that.
Yeah, I mean, it's another massive U-turn. How many have they done? I mean, we're losing count, aren't we? The NI rise, the triple lock, So, you know, as recently as yesterday, they were sending MPs out on the media to pretty much victim blame and say this is just excuses for someone who's not very good.
Some of the Cabinet, to be fair. I mean, the Conservative Party have got some very, very senior
it is vocal people from within, people like Nadim Zahawi.
Sajid Javid spoke out on Twitter.
Exactly, who said solidarity with Nus, that they've done this U-turn. Because initially they were saying sort it out within the internal party structures, it's your fault, you didn't. So that is progress, but we need to see what this is exactly. We need to see the T's and C's.
Now, some members of Parliament, including yourself, received anti-Muslim letters in the post. That was back in 2018. Just tell us a bit about those letters and how the parliamentary authorities dealt with that.
Yeah, so at the time, there was a thing going around on social media, an A4 page, and it was called Kill a Muslim Day. And I think there was a nominated day in 2018, March, I think it was. And there was an urgent question in Parliament on this because they'd been going through letterboxes in, I think, the Midlands and North. I didn't see one come through my door. I think it was not a London phenomenon. But it had a tariff of different things. And it said spit in the face of one, 10 points, burn someone's house down, 100 points, nuke Mecca, you're the winner. And it was inciting people to do these things. It was called Kill a Muslim Day. And I think killing one, you got a number of points. And it was just outrageous. It was an anonymous letter, and 5 Muslim MPs received them at their parliamentary offices. So I was in my select committee, far away from my office, and the person whose job it was to open the post every day found that it was that letter, but it was also oozing with a weird substance. And this was the time of Novichok and Salisbury, so nobody was taking any chances. The Parliamentary Security Services came round. Then suddenly, before you know it, that whole wing of the building was cordoned off, everyone was evacuated out, blokes in hazmat suits, pre-COVID, so that was more of a rare sight, seeing people in all the high-vis stuff, doing a sweep of the whole building, and the guy who touched it had to go to hospital. I mean, I think it was seen as being a non-noxious substance. I don't know what it was. It was
just very, very alarming. Now, I put it to you that no party is clean in matters of racism. The Labour Party faced terrible accusations of anti-Semitism from many Jewish members. No party's got a clean slate on this.
I mean, it was a very dark period of Labour's history that, you know, people were not able to go to Labour Party meetings and say, you know, I often say, as a woman, as a Muslim, as a this, as a that, as an Asian, it's completely wrong, and kids on university campuses felt intimidated. We are dealing with that. There was full cooperation with the AHRC Inquiry. I think the Conservatives need to have one as well, because, again, there's a lot of... They were always very keen to point fingers, rightly, at our problems, and we are getting our house in order now. But there's, you know, a whole report from last year on Islamophobia. They didn't even mention the word Islamophobia. I think they called it anti-Muslim hate, that they've not dealt with. So it's absolutely right. It's a proper inquiry now, because I think they were saying it should be an internal Conservative process. And one of the findings of their report was that their internal process is stuffed. So let's see what happens. But I like to think Labour, under Keir Starmer's leadership, he's made that his top priority. We're sorting it out. They need to next.